Go to the toilet. Go on.
Paul Whelan's yoghurt ads not only victimised their male lead, but served up a predatory gay character for good measure.
The thing about the Müller ads, I think, is that you've got so many of the different stereotypes running at the one time. So you've got a strong, independent woman who, you know, is looking after her figure, but still enjoys her food and she's very sensual. And then the boy who's a bit dim and she kind of lords it over him. And you've also got a sort of quite homophobic subtext, I think.
The steward, who happens to be gay, thinks that there's a problem in the loo, knocks on the door, guy opens it, drags the steward in, and they're kind of face to face at this moment. Very funny. Boom, in a commercial. Most popular commercial Müller have made in years. Sales go through the roof. Fantastic use of humour. They decide to make another one, and this time it's a continuation where they arrive at the hotel.
I'll get the ice.
Ice.
No ice.
Hot lips.
It feels very 70s. You've got, air stewards, we know what they're like, don't we, boys? You know, nodding and winking at the boyfriend. And it's kind of wrong on so many levels, I don't even know where to start.
What viewers never knew is that the ad was changed after pressure from gay rights groups. In Whelan's original version, the naked boyfriend calls out his girlfriend's name.
And we've got our naked hero in the corridor, and he's knocking on the door, and he shouts the girl's name, which is Nancy, which the gay guy immediately stops, thinks he's calling him, and there he is, completely naked, and there's that moment again where he's trapped, which was funny, which worked. But then there's a lobby that protects gay rights called Stonewall, who took offence to the name Nancy, and, you know, to me, that's odd. You know, it's just a joke and it's not insulting or whatever. And but there we go. We couldn't use that.
After alternative comedy and after laddish comedy, after the men behaving badly generation, the only way to go forward after that is stuff where you're not quite sure what's going on. You know, am I supposed to laugh? Am I supposed to cry? Is it genuinely funny or is it all ironic?
Why do birds suddenly appear?
In these post-ironic times, even a cooing Paul Daniels can be used by the ad men to conjure up a few cheap laughs. But in today's advertising arena, the stakes are far higher. And it's not only B-list celebrities who can end up being thrown to the lions. When deadpan comedian Jack Dee signed up to advertise John Smith's Bitter, complete with musical penguins, some thought it spelt the end of his career and credibility. Instead, the offbeat commercials made him a household name and one of the most recognised faces in British ads.
Jack Dee's classic kind of miserablest old bloke. But they also managed to get him almost to play on the fact that, well, if you came along to Jack Dee and said to him, do you want to do this ad we've got on TV for beer? Obviously we'll pay you loads of money. He probably thought, well, I really shouldn't be doing this kind of thing.
He was a good fit for this no-nonsense idea which John Smiths have traditionally run with. Also, it was interesting the way that they tried to sort of build up a kind of tension between him and the ad crew, and the fact that it was bad for his credibility to be seen to be advertising something.
Oh, I'm not doing this.
Well, don't you like the beer?
Well, I like the beer, it's just not my material.
But then, of course, they can send that up by having this big bag of money fall down beside him, and then suddenly he's all right with it.
I'm sorry, I am not prepared to compromise my hard man of comedy image. I mean, why should I?
Widget, he's got a widget.
The whole joke of those ads is that, you know, this is what we have to do to get Jack Dee to do our ads.
Ad men are always on at me to liven up my advertisements for John Smith's Extra Smooth Bitter.
I don't think it's enough to talk about its extra smooth taste.
I think the best example of that is the one where he's superimposed against all these dazzling special effects of the penguins, you know, giant penguins, him walking out of a penguin's mouth.
Definitely no penguins.
And at the end you realise that he doesn't realise this is going to be superimposed on him at all, and he thinks it's just going to be in the middle of a pub. And that's very clever because it's just kind of it's playing on how advertising works, how they make them. It's playing on the idea that, you know, he's doing this almost against his will.
But the joke backfired on the Brewers. After cashing a cheque for £500,000, Dee not only quit the campaign, but revealed he never even liked the beer.
I think using comedians gives an advertiser a bit of a head start. Those are people that we know are funny, so we're already prepared and predisposed to laugh at them and laugh with them. The danger comes because sometimes these characters are so famous and their sense of humour is so pointed that it can overwhelm the brand that they're trying to promote. And you absolutely have to match the comedian with your target audience.
You see this?
One of the examples of it going awry is John Cleese and Sainsbury's.
And it's practically a total secret because everyone here is much too frightfully nice to shout about it. Well, they asked me at very short notice if I would do it, and I'm very fond of Sainsbury's as a store, and I know David Sainsbury used to run it, and I also was very fond of the advertising agency. So although the scripts weren't very good, I thought we'll be able to fix this because there won't be a problem. And then I basically ran into the Sainsbury marketing department who knew exactly what they wanted. But Helen here has volunteered to put the message across with real pizzazz. Go get him, go!
For a brand like Sainsbury's, which is appealing to such a broad church, to have somebody like John Cleese ranting at the screen, it will have turned off a lot of people.
The ad didn't only turn off viewers, they voted it one of the most irritating commercials of the year.
Well, the strange thing about the campaign is I thought we got away with it because I didn't think the first three were good at all, and one I thought was really quite bad. And a lot of people said they didn't like this particular ad, quite rightly, because it needed a button, it needed a joke at the end.
If you can buy this cheaper at any other supermarket, then Sainsbury's will refund twice the difference.
So, you see the problem. The trouble with the Sainsbury ads, really, was that the marketing people got it completely wrong. They went for a campaign that was emphasizing lower prices, and that was not what the Sainsbury's customers actually were interested in. They liked the idea of Sainsbury being a rather classy organization. So it's interesting that although they were absolutely sure what they wanted in the commercials, they got the whole thing completely wrong.
It's high risk, high reward, a humour strategy. Because think of this, if you watch an indifferent documentary on the telly or the news isn't very interesting, you think, well, the news wasn't very interesting today, you think no more of it. You see a really crap sitcom, it makes you angry, doesn't it? You think, this is awful. And it's the same with an ad. You do an ad which is not just not funny, but extremely unfunny, and it will utterly destroy the brand for you in a matter of moments. And you only need to make 3 of them, and the brand might be dead for 5 years.
That's just what happened to Vauxhall after their attempt to inject some fun into their car ads turned into a disaster.
This is the news.
Griff Rhys-Jones's bearded professor was supposed to be an endearing figure of fun, demonstrating the TARDIS-like virtues of Vauxhall's new range.
With some big cars.
But the character proved as unpopular as Cleese's store manager, and sales slumped during the 2 years of the campaign.
The problem with the Vauxhall ads with Griff Rhys-Jones, which by all accounts weren't particularly successful for the brand, was that you had this very unattractive character, and the ads weren't really funny. They were trying to be funny, and they were trying very hard to be funny.
He's obviously a very fine sort of comedian and comedy actor, and it's just a weird thing that they created that character to market a brand of cars, and it's basically just a nerd with a quite horrible beard. He doesn't look good. He's got, you know, nothing appealing or attractive about his character.
The new VX220 has been described as the sexiest car that Vauxhall have ever built. Rubbish.
And you had this really quite distasteful man in his underpants, again hectoring, and he's not at all the sort of person I think that you would want to identify with. And if you don't identify with the main character who's trying to sell you a product, that's a bit of a problem. And if you're trying to do it in a funny way and you're not being funny, that's even more of a problem.
I can't tell you the number of times I've said to an agency, you don't need a celebrity for this. This idea is so good. You could have your mummy do it, or, you know, your grandmother or something. That there's this idea that celebrities are no more effective per se than anything is. It's actually the value of a good idea is much the strongest thing, and it's got completely out of hand, and frankly they pay them far too much money. It's not worth it, and then people are surprised when it doesn't work.
And I think what a lot of people got wrong was the fact that they thought, actually, it's not about like writing a little funny comedy sketch and putting a product on the end. It actually has to be related to the whole marketing, premise of the product. That is a great art, and although the great commercials look like they're kind of just silly little sketches, they're actually usually relevant to what the advertiser is trying to say. And I think, and when they're not, and when it's not a great and original idea, then it's just someone famous just talking on the box, and therefore it can fall flat on its face.
Okay, that was 1-0 in Bangkok for Brian. How's the rash? Try yogurt.
But as long as comedy continues to tickle our funny bones, advertising will always have an eye on the hottest trends and the freshest faces. It's our love of a good joke and a willingness to poke fun at ourselves that's made our commercials the envy of the world. The funniest ads in the world. Probably.